Hello, movie lovers. Today I want to talk about a recent indicator release, I think in February 2022, so just a couple weeks ago. And this is 1982's An Unsuitable Job for a Woman, directed by Christopher Pettit. And it stars Billy Whitelaw, who is by far, I think, the most famous actor in this film. But it also stars Paul Freeman, and this is Paul Freeman, and he might be recognizable because he played a significant role in Raiders of the Lost Ark, played Belloc in Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think the previous year to this. But the main character, even though she's third billed, and that's Christopher Pettit, the director, on the back cover of this really nice booklet that Indicator included in this release. And that's Pippa Guard, who plays Cordelia Grey. Unsuitable Job for a Woman is based on a P.D. James novel. She wrote two Cordelia James novels, both of which I read a couple weeks ago. I liked the first one so much I read the second one. And Cordelia Grey is a 23-year-old private investigator. She's working on the tutelage of her boss. One day she comes to work and she finds the boss dead by suicide. And she finds out that he has bequeathed her, the agency, all his possessions. On the way back from the funeral, Billy Whitelaw is waiting outside of the office. She wants to hire her boss on knowing that of the death. To investigate another suicide. The young son, 22-year-old son of a rich investor, financial investor. Billy Whitelaw playing the part of his secretary, right-hand woman kind of character. And even though she's disappointed that the boss isn't available anymore, she does hire Cordelia to investigate the reasons of why this young man committed suicide. No one can figure out why did he do this. So that's her first case on her own. And as she uncovers the clues, it's really a film more about family secrets, the implications, what actually happened in the past. This is not a traditional adaptation of a detective novel of the times that we would see, like the Adam Dalgliesh television series. And it's Christopher Pettit's second film. He had made Radio On that attracted a lot of attention, critical attention, and also a big hit at film festivals, at least. Very low budget, black and white movie that was partially financed by Wim Wenders' German film production company. And it has a very much of a Wim Wenders look, road movie, and sort of very spare black and white photography. But his second film, he originally wanted to do a adaptation of an Agatha Christie novel, but he couldn't find one that he really wanted to do. And of course, he wanted to also get a foot in. He got noticed for his debut film, but he wanted to see if he had the prospect of having a commercial film success. And he loved crime movies and crime novels. And Christopher Pettit had been the editor of Time Out magazine, editor of the film reviews, and he wrote many reviews himself. He's very well educated. This film sort of veers off into Laura, where Cordelia becomes falls in love with the victim, just as Danny Andrews does in Laura. But it is not, like I say, it's not a traditional type of adaptation. So, and it occupies that space between an art film, and which Radio On was definitely, and a commercial type film, what the audience would expect from a adaptation of a P.D. James novel. So in a way, it's much closer to Venders's own adaptation of an American crime novel, one of Patricia Highsmith's Ripley novels, The American Friend. And he also uses the same cinematographer that Wenders, part of Wenders' production company, and his name is Martin Schaefer, and he was Robbie Muller's assistant on all of those Wim Wenders 1970 movies. Also shot Radio On, but this film was going to be in color, and Schaefer convinced Christopher Pettit to use Agfa film in almost all films in that era were Eastman Kodak. And so it has a different look. It has a beautiful look. Like I say, it's a great 4K scan. And like the primary colors are different. They look different. Blues, the greens, the reds, in particular, particularly red. So when I watched the film a second time, I really noticed that, that look of the film, that Agfa film provided. And it's also different because the movie is different from expectations, because in the novel, Cordelia, P.D. James emphasizes Cordelia's intelligence, her professionalism. She's learned a lot from her boss in the short time that she's worked for him, and she gets the unsuitable when she investigates in different people in her investigation. They all say, who are you? You're a young woman. This isn't a suitable job for a young woman. And P.D. James is saying, of course it is. She can do just as good a job. But that's not emphasized in the movie. The movie becomes more or less a ghost story type movie, with this kind of, like I mentioned, this kind of Laura kind of aspect to it. And then in the casting, Pettit originally wanted Isabelle Huppert. That was quickly nixed, and then he wanted Leslie Ann Down, and he had talked to her, showed her a script. She wanted to do the film. This was her moment of movie stardom in the early 1980s, but these kind of independent productions had different. They had to draw money from different areas to finance the film, and one of the producers said that Leslie Ann Down is far too glamorous for this kind of role, so. Pippa Gard had not made, this is her debut film, but she was in a number of television productions. I remember her, she looked vaguely familiar to me, and I noticed one of her credits was as Maggie Tolliver in a television miniseries of The Mill on the Floss. So she's very good. But these kind of films kind of need star power. They're so odd, and the audience doesn't really know, am I watching a detective movie? Am I watching some artsy movie? She's a good actress, and she does well in the film, but she doesn't have star power, and she did not go on to a feature film career, but she was in many television series, and she has a particularly good scene that's in the novel as well, where she is thrown into a deep well and she has to get out of the well. It's very well directed. Like I say, it's in the book, and that's really the set piece of the movie, and she really, Pippa Gard really does convey both the terror and her ability to adapt and survive that experience. So we have, in the supplements, we have interviews, recent interviews, one with Christopher Pettit, and he did a few more films that were rather obscure feature films, and then became a documentary filmmaker. He's a very good interviewer. I mean, he really is. His knowledge of movies, he was a film critic, and literature, really comes across. And he did get his chance to do an Agatha Christie adaptation. He did what's it called, the Caribbean Mystery of Miss Marple series, the Miss Marple series with Joan Hickson, the really good one. The detective in Unsuitable Job is played by David Horvitch, and he played in those Joan Hickson. I looked at him, I said, God, where do I know? You know how you do when you watch these old movies, where do I know him from? Well, he played Inspector Slack in those Joan Hickson movies, although not in the Caribbean Mystery one, where he's constantly exasperated by another very intelligent female private investigator, although not officially, in Miss Marple. And he's always outdone by Miss Marple's ability to figure everything out that he is perplexed by. And he plays sort of a similar part here. And then we have a conversation with the producer, another recent conversation, Don Boyd, whose production company was behind the filming of Unsuitable Job for a Woman. And he had made films with Alan Clark, Derek Jarman, and he wanted to make these kind of films that would have some different kind of artistic ambition than was normally there in British films. But also maybe could have some commercial success as well. And he was busy with a lot of different projects, and the filming of Unsuitable Job was troubled because the crew and some of the cast itself were perplexed at what Christopher Pettit was trying to do. They could feel that there were scenes being left out that Pettit was deliberately leaving out because he didn't want to do this traditional detective movie. And so Boyd went to this, saw the rushes and thought, man, this film looks great, and reassured everybody. So Pettit did persevere with the filming of this. And as part of his interview, he mentions that P.D. James herself really liked this film, which kind of surprised me because it takes quite a few liberties with her story. And as I said, I watched this with the sound off because no commentary, but I often like to do that because you really get to see how the visual storytelling, but also, like I previously mentioned, the cinematography and how beautiful all this color scheme that they had with this different film stock, but also the production design, and that was by Anton Furst. And I think one of his first films, he died very young. But this, the house where the young man killed himself, and where Cordelia Grey decides to make she's going to live there while she's doing her investigation. Very well designed, and he went on to do some Hollywood movies, including he was the designer of Tim Burton's Batman movie. So overall, again, if you're expecting a traditional adaptation of a mystery novel, probably you're going to be disappointed. And I got to admit, when I watched it the first time, I was pretty perplexed. And plus, I had just read the novel, and I thought some of these choices are really odd. I enjoyed it much more after experiencing the supplements and then watching it again. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen to me. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. You guys take care.